Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hidden Layers Diversity in Design. Today we are at episode 9, and we have the amazing Shaq, photographer I met last week when we had a photo walk. But please, Shaq, introduce yourself and tell us what you do and where you're based.
Thank you, David, for the opportunity. Yes, my name's Shaq. I'm based in East London. I travel around a bit as well, and I've been a photographer for 6 years now. And over I would say the last year or so, I've just tried to focus and take it a lot more seriously and focus in on my niche and my editing style, so I can be a bit more unique and consistent, I would say.
hmm Was photography always something on the books, or when you was younger, was you into something different?
I'm the type of person, I'm quite creative, so I've tried
hmm
loads of different things. I've had many careers. I've done lifeguarding. I worked at the London Olympics. I
hmm
also had a career in product management as well. So I worked for quite a few different big brands, throughout my career.
Yeah, super amazing. And by the way, do you obviously we talked a little bit last time. Do you do only photography? But I know you do also video, isn't it? Right?
Yeah, so I've started doing video mainly for social media content, and behind the
hmm
scenes. So I do video
hmm
footage. I'm still kind of practicing and developing my video editing skills, but I think I've got
Okay.
the footage side of it down now. So I'm quite interested in video as well, definitely.
No, I think that's the great thing about making video is also experimenting. But I think you have a beautiful eye because I saw the picture you shot last time when we went between St. Paul and Brick Lane, and I don't know, there's something unique and very nostalgic when I look at your picture because you portray the people in a very specific way. And can I actually ask you, in photography, do you have any inspiration? Was there anybody that inspired you to do photography, or is there something that gave you the inspiration on the way you shoot the photography right now?
No, I would say. Definitely, I've been inspired by many different photographers, whether it be ones that have, millions of followers or ones that have 300 followers. I think everyone
hmm
has stories and unique perspectives. But from
hmm
my point of view, I just kind of self-taught myself. I just can't, especially during the 2020 lockdown, I
hmm
just decided, you know what? This is a good time where I've got some time to myself. Let me actually develop my skills and buy a DSLR Canon camera and just see where it takes me. And then all I was doing was just taking photos of my friends and
Okay.
anyone that I saw basically that gave me a chance to take photos of them.
No, that's super cool. I think like back in my days when I was younger, like I bought like a Nikon D300 back in the days, like a reflex camera. And funny, I was terrible at it, man. But I think that is how I started making some income. I used to go to the club and just take picture of every person in the club. And I went to the owner and I was like, "Look, man, I'm doing the picture. Pay me for this," you know. And a joker pulling another joker. That's how I started photography. But then I just lost myself because I didn't had no idea on how to use lighting, how to use different lenses. It's something that I've always loved, but I think like it's not for everyone. Like if you don't like that technical side of it, it's really difficult to get into it, isn't it?
Yeah, it is definitely. I think the technical side, from my point of view, I kind of developed that after I started, which is probably not the best way to do it. But for me, I like to just kind of dive into things. I knew I had kind
hmm
of the basic skills. I done my own kind of self-research to know the basic skills, and I said, you know what? I know the basics. I'm gonna just push myself, go out into the open world and just start creating. And then
hmm
as I kept going on photo shoots, and I also done a lot of event photography during my start as well. I still do event photography today, but I definitely started going to my own events that I was running and
hmm
taking photos and actually just putting myself in the deep end.
By the way, you're talking about owning an event. Please shout out your event, your name, and everything, so that people can visit your socials.
Yeah. So if the brand is here, Motive UK. We have two accounts on Instagram. So we have the main one, which is Motive underscore UK, and then we also have the new one, which is Discover Your Motive. And essentially, what we do is we are a event ticketing platform. So we help other events and hosts run their events. So that could be from selling tickets on our platform, promoting
Hmm.
their event on our platform on our social media sites. But also, what we do as well is with some of the brands, we also help facilitate the event. So we'll help them get DJs, might be helping them get photographers like myself or videographers,
Hmm.
but we also
Okay.
do actually content for social. So we do interviews as well in the event. So we go into events and we
Okay.
actually interview people one on one and ask them, you know, how did you like this event and what brought you here?
That's very interesting. So it's kind of like you're covering all the aspects of everything, actually. So music, interviews, bringing people together. That's amazing. Do you work with a big team?
No, it's just a small team, small, close-knit team, but we're still
Okay.
growing. We've been going for about 8 years now, so we're still growing,
Okay.
but we're just ready to take everything to the next level.
Oh, nice, nice. And when it comes to your photography, is it a hard? Obviously, I'm an illustrator, so for me, it's always like it's very different. I think you know we are both visionary. We see things in different angles and everything. But when it comes to photography, do you think like the upcoming of AI has brought the difficulties to the business, or like do you think no? Like, what's your opinion on that?
Um, I think it's brought change to the business.
Mm-hmm.
With AI, definitely it gives more people access to creating photography themselves, which
Mm-hmm.
sometimes can become a difficulty because essentially some people will think that they can do it themselves with AI's help. But
Mm,
what I have actually found recently is people are starting to kind of get sick of AI produced content,
mm,
and now
mm-hmm.
they're going more towards the authentic content, which is the type of content that I create. So for me personally, I kind of think it's helping me because people are more looking for authentic portraits and
Mm-hmm.
photography now.
No, that's very interesting because lately, like even on the photo walk, I had a big, massive debate with a lot of photographers, and what a lot of people were saying was, obviously, some people noticed the difference because before, if you was creating content for a brand, you will have like a maxi photo shoot and everything, and then you will have idea generation process, then work with the client to decide which one you like, which one you didn't like, and then go to the final stages. So they will almost feel like a lot of them felt like the process or like the amount of work they did diminish because people will use AI to create more ideas first and then
Yeah,
come with the final ideas directly to the photographer. So that's actually very interesting. But yeah, I totally agree with you, Shaq. I think authenticity is very important because I think AI has been trained, but a human vision is very unique and every person is unique. So what you and I see will always be different, if it makes sense. And
yeah, definitely.
obviously, this is a platform where we talk a lot about color, diversity. How do you find yourself as a photographer nowadays? Is it easy always to get the job, or it's like, how do you market yourself actually?
So for me, a lot of my jobs come from referrals. So usually
Okay.
what would happen is I would do work with someone and then people will see the work and they will ask them who done the work and they will refer them to me. And that's how
Mm-hmm.
I've grown my business. But more and more
Mm-hmm.
recently, I'm starting to develop my portfolio on my website and
Mm-hmm.
building my social media presence. So I
Mm-hmm.
definitely finding some challenges getting new clients, but also I don't really feel that race comes into it too much. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like it's more about kind of culture and what we're expecting and what we're kind of used to doing. I feel like a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
time in our culture, we're not used to kind of putting ourselves out there too much.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's where we just need to kind of just
Do you
try new
think
things, basically. Try new things is what I'm trying to do. Yeah,
Do you think it's always about, sorry to say this, yeah, but do you think it's us or most in the culture, there's not a lot of opportunity to, not opportunity, but, so, some people have just difficulties to get into that niche or like to get into that door and say like, because I know talented people that are still behind the desk, they do a lot of work, and even if they talk, but they don't know enough people to be where they want to be as well, because that's why also I'm doing this platform, almost like to put people all in one place so you can connect, you can communicate. Because I think one thing that I discovered by doing this podcast is having a community is very important. Is that
definitely.
something in your line of work, like when it comes to community, apart the people you work with, do you surround yourself by a community of photographers or people like-minded as you?
Yeah, so definitely I surround myself with like-minded people, especially other photographers. I think that's the best way to learn. And also, I always feel like in any career, in project
Hmm.
management, my network was one of my biggest strengths. The way I talk to people, the way I actually hear people when I'm speaking to them, the way I connect to them, they know that, what I'm saying is real. I build like good relationships, and I feel like photography is a lot about the business side, and
Yeah.
a lot of us creators, we're very keen on the creative side, and we want to take nice photos and nice visuals, but
Hmm.
in order to be booked, you have to be known, and in order to be
Yeah.
known, you have to be in the right conversations and the right rooms. So it's
Hmm.
definitely difficult, I think, for all of us, but one thing that I do think is a kind of an issue is that there's not that many role models that maybe look like us. So
Mm.
that is something that I think where we kind of have a disadvantage is that there's not
Hmm.
that many big photographers, creators that you see kind of
Hmm.
getting all of the big jobs. So
Yeah.
therefore, you don't really see the root in somebody that
Yeah.
looks and represents you, which therefore just makes it a little bit more of a challenge. And yeah, definitely.
No, no, no. I totally agree with you. Actually, I will say like they exist, but they are not. They are not around us. It's weird to say it like this. Like they are around us, because I know a lot of talented people in the world, but sometimes they're not here. They might be in the
Yeah,
States, or
yeah,
like they might be in a different part of the world. But in that side of the world, they were good where they are, but obviously the budget is not as big. As it is in Europe or in America, that's why they are not well known. But the work they do back home is
it's
absolutely
amazing.
amazing. That's
Yeah,
that's why when I say sometimes there is talented people out there, but I don't think there are not enough platform that shows this amazing artist globally, like because I think like if we had access to this kind of people, the story we will hear and the influence and the inspiration we will get out of people like them will actually be crazy, like because they can literally move a whole generation of young people that want to become the artists or photographers or whatever they do, so can I ask you like what will be like when you look at photography, like what is the we talked about weddings and stuff like that. What is one of the biggest the projects that you want? What excites you the most when you do photography or video?
yeah. So for me, the main things that excite me about photography is taking pictures of people's faces and capturing kind
Mm,
of their emotions and their feelings. And
okay.
I feel like some of the times the best way to do that is more in natural moments. So like we was doing the other day, going on kind
Yeah.
of big photo walks with other photographers and just kind of catching people candid in the moment. But
Yeah.
also, what I like to do is do more kind of brand shoots. So doing like more clothing brand
Mm.
shoots, where
Okay.
I have a bit more creative direction. I can kind of select the
Mhm.
models, I can select the outfits, stuff like that, and bring kind of an idea to life.
But it's funny because you said about capturing the people. Like, it's funny. I wanted to ask you this. This is obviously calculate my ignorance on photography, yeah. But if you're capturing people in natural light, I think there is a true emotion that comes with it. And I think the beautiful thing, I noticed that immediately in your work. Even you took a couple of pictures of me, so random. Is like, and I was like, damn, man, the guy, how did he shoot this? Like, I will never shoot something that nice. But my question is, when you do brand photography, is it more difficult to capture that kind of real emotion when it comes to model? Because they know how to pose, but do you feel like when it comes to brand photography, and no shading nobody and no business, obviously, but it's just a personal view on, I think emotion is something that photography pictures very well. When you do brand photography, do you think, even if you're directing it, is it the same? Or do you feel like,
I know exactly what you mean. It's a
yeah,
little bit more put together, polished,
mm-hmm, yeah,
but I do believe that if you have the right vision, the right brand,
mm,
and especially the right models, then you
yeah,
can definitely recapture very close to a more candid, authentic feel. But like I
mm-hmm,
said, it kind of, you need everything working together.
yeah,
Otherwise, it's just going to look like any other
yeah.
brand
Yeah,
photos.
because I can, it's funny, but I can imagine like, okay, you go for a trip in Africa, you bring some clothing brands and stuff, you give it to the people. When you shoot, it will be very different because it's kind of, you're showing the culture, you're showing the people, you're showing the excitement, you're saying, and obviously because it doesn't belong to that country, something coming from outside always excite people. So I can see it in something more cultural or if you travel. But I always ask myself, like, when you go for this big shoot, how can you actually, what's the easiest way to transmit emotion? Do you think that the models are always, are the models normally trained in that? Is it easy actually to shoot? Sorry for making this question, by the way.
No,
Is
no, of
it
course, this is
easier
good.
to shoot random people or is it easier to shoot models?
I think both, to be honest.
Okay.
And and the reason why I say both is
Interesting.
because it depends on the person. The person could be a
Mm,
model or the person could be a normal person walking on the street. But if they have a certain look and a confidence about themselves,
mm,
they're going
okay.
to give you the look and kind of that offense. They're
Okay.
not going to need to pose too much because they're
Okay.
confident in their skin. And sometimes you get models that they might have experience, and they might have a good look, but maybe the confidence on the
Mm-hmm.
day is not that great, or, maybe
Okay.
they've been overworked or anything like that. So definitely some of my best photos have come from what you would call just normal people on the street.
Very, very interesting, actually. Very interesting. Because that is something that I've always attracted me, like how to take that. Because when I see photography, one thing that I don't know for which reason, I'm immediately connected with emotion of what I see in the picture rather than looking at maybe the shadow, the reflection. Because even having the walk with you make me laugh because I saw a construction site and I started telling the people, "Oh, guys, you should take a picture of that," and the whole group kind of look at me like, boring. You understand? So it's interesting to see. No, it's funny, but I'm not a
Of course,
photographer, as I said.
that's true.
But it's very interesting to see how intricate the mind of a photographer is because they perceive almost like. They perceive more than us. I saw a picture where a guy photographed a guy smoking a cigarette, but you will have the reflection of the guy smoking on a mirror, and then below the mirror you will have the shadow of the person with the cigarette. And when I start noticing all that detail, I'm like, man, it's almost like he captured 3 dimension in one picture, and I was blown away after. But if you just show me the picture, I would have never clocked anything of the picture. So that is quite exciting as well. Sometimes, do you think that that comes with time, getting to that level where you pay a lot of attention to small detail, or do you actually experiment to begin with?
I would say you experiment to begin with, probably even more than when you
Mm-hmm.
start to become what they would say good. But
Mm-hmm.
with experience, you kind of spot things quicker. So I'll give you an
Okay.
example. Like yesterday, when I was out in Shoreditch shooting, there was
Mm-hmm.
I realized that I was starting to see the shots before they came into place because I
Okay.
could see someone
Okay.
riding, I could see the light that they was about to go into, and I could see
Mm-hmm.
the position that I needed to be in to capture
Mm-hmm.
the shot. And
Mm-hmm.
that comes with experience. I wasn't doing that
Yeah.
5, 6 years ago, but now
Okay.
things are starting to kind of paint a picture in my head quite quickly.
Yeah, and tell me if I'm wrong. I think there's also obviously I notice all this little thing by having a walk with you guys, yeah. But it feels like you need patience as well. Yeah, the perfect shot to get a perfect shot. Sometimes you just need to wait, right?
Sometimes you just need to pause and hold position.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I see sometimes, like I saw this, the person taking the billboard with the shadow, with the light, with the person just walking right under it. And then when I look at the picture, I was like, man, seriously, I wouldn't wait so long. So I found that very interesting. Like you need patience to capture the perfect picture as well. And I wanted to ask, like, if now we can talk about having an exhibition, what will be your theme?
My team.
Yeah. If you can pick
Oh,
only one team and you can put all your photography inside, what will you do personally?
that's a very good question.
I
Um,
know, I know.
that is a very good question. Um, so I've been thinking about doing expedition, and I was actually talking to a photographer called Tom Wilkins from Cardiff
Hmm.
yesterday about an
Hmm.
expedition. So I definitely would like to do one with a group of photographers, similar to like photo walks, but instead of
Hmm.
obviously taking the photos, we just
Yeah.
kind of have a group of us that have different
Hmm.
styles, and
Hmm.
then we kind of showcase them together and invite people down.
Yeah.
That would be kind of my dream for an expedition.
No, that would be sick. And where would be your first place to visit? Is there anything that capture your attention more than others? Because I know that you're from Caribbean, Afro-Caribbean backgrounds, right? And I saw
Yes,
that you
correct.
have some picture from Jamaica as well. Will it be something exotic, wildlife, or just like complex city systems? Some people, you know.
Yeah, I think mine personally would just be people in different places.
Mm,
So I would like to
okay.
capture people that are a lot of my photos are obviously city based because I'm from London, but I would
Yeah.
also, like you said, I do a lot of photography when I travel. So I would like to capture people from Jamaica, for example, from Europe, from
Hmm.
America,
Yeah.
and then show all of the different faces from around the world.
Yeah. Hmm. No, that's beautiful, I think. I think the closest I've seen something like that was a photographer that I think he did the calendar for Nespresso back in the days, a massive photographer.
Okay.
But I think what he did was showing certain tradition and places from Africa, Asia, and it was just beautiful because I think what he pictured is actually what we normally don't see here in the West as well. So only if you're local, you will actually know about those certain tradition. And I think when I see those kind of picture, I can really relate to it because that's the world. Because what we know here is not everything, it's just story we heard on the news. Rather, the photography can really tell the story of a continent, and shape the continent as well, I would say.
No,
That's
I
super
totally
nice.
agree. And like
Hmm.
just on that, I think like I didn't realize how much people appreciated my photos from Jamaica. A lot of people, since I've been back the last time, have
Hmm.
been coming to me and saying to me like, "Oh, when are you going back to Jamaica? I really love your photos."
Hmm.
And then they will say like, "Oh, actually, like you've inspired me, and I want to go Jamaica now. Like, can you tell me
Yeah.
when the best time of the year is to go, where I should visit?" So it just
Yeah.
showed me the power of taking the photos and sharing them with people.
Yeah, because I think one thing that people have to realize more often is that's why sometimes I talk about how to bring your culture within your artistry is important because, there are stereotypes all around the world, but by having picture or documenting where you come from or like where you visit, you're actually inspiring people to open that doors that they would never really force themselves to walk into because of stereotype, right? So no, I think it's a blessing, and actually, you should definitely, if you ever go back, you should definitely do a show there. I think, especially local and people from there will really appreciate it to see it from see the island from your eyes. That's the beautiful fact. Because as I said, everybody is different. So it's just different the way you see it.
No, definitely. And I always try to connect with photographers all over the world. Even
Hmm.
in Jamaica, I've connected with a few creators as well. So I'll definitely be trying to do more content creation and documenting what's going on.
Hmm. If I can ask you one thing that you would like to see more within your field of work, like what will it be?
Um, I think I would just like to see more collaboration. I think a lot
Mm,
of people feel like we're in competition with each other. There's some people that, they might gatekeep connections or
mm,
contacts or even just opportunities. But I would like to see a lot more just collaborating on ideas, collaborating on
hmm.
projects and sharing ideas, really.
But can I ask you something? Like when is I like what you said, but do you think like if you're all different, is there so much competition for real?
And that's my
You
point.
know
I
what I
don't think
mean?
that there is that much
Yeah,
competition because
yeah.
there's going to be a photographer across the world that's got a
Hmm.
different style to me. We're clearly
Yeah,
not in any competition because we're never going to get the
yeah,
same type of work. And even
yeah.
if someone's local to me, there's so many
Hmm.
different brands, there's so many different people out
Yeah,
there.
so many.
We don't need to compete. We can develop
Exactly.
together and grow.
Because I think like it's funny because I think like there's a lot of cameras in the world. Like if I think the world, I cannot see the world without cameras. Like cameras exist from so many years. Everybody has a camera. Even with a smartphone, if you have the great lightning, you can get a shot. That's why sometimes I feel like why people need to be so overprotective of collaborating. Because even in the arts and illustration as well, I guarantee you there's a lot of people that as soon as you say the word collaboration, they're like, oh no, I don't collaborate. Like it's almost like no, they cannot see how it can work if they collaborate with someone. Rather me, I've collaborated with more than 100 people, and I see the power of growth because when you collaborate, in reality is not a competition, but you learn from each other. So
Exactly.
somehow you both elevate each other, and you just start thinking differently as well because you enrich yourself with so many tips, so many things that you teach, they teach. So and it works 50-50 all the time. And
It's a
I don't know,
win-win.
there's just exactly, and that's why I see. I don't understand why people nowadays are still like dealing with this. I don't know if I should collaborate. Just try it out once, and I think people will fall in love more. Like if they see the power of collaboration. Because even in lockdown, I did a project with for Puma, and we was 10 creative working on the same project. And it's funny because it was the illustration, I made it, another guy did the animation, another guy did the
Okay.
spoken words. It's almost like I give you the stick, the other one run to the other guy, give him the
Yep,
stick and
yep.
pass on till and it's weird because everybody was working on something specific. So I cannot tell you what to do with it. I just said, I've done my job, now it's your turn. And what came out was amazing, man, because I believe in this as well. What you don't think, someone else in the room will have that answer, you know? So when you kind of come together, is where your mind starts seeing more clearly,
More
because where you
possibilities.
didn't
Yeah.
touch, exactly. You will say something he miss, and that person will say something you miss. So that's the equilibrium in collaboration, I think, as well. Challenging the world with more eyes than just your eyes and your mind is very important.
No, definitely. I couldn't agree more. Collaborating is how we all gonna make progress a lot quicker.
Yeah, and let's see. Last question, because the time is there now. Where do you see yourself in? I know you do events and stuff like that, but let's say you want to retire and you want to. What will you do with? What is the thing that you would like to end with in photography or video?
Yeah, so kind of my whole vision for my brand, the reason why I called it Before It's Too Late is I want to essentially document the stories and the photos of people essentially before it's too late. So
Yeah,
my whole dream is to create a brand where I can employ people and give other people, young creators, opportunities as well directly through my brand, and they can go
mhm.
out into the world and earn money and create magic works of art, and I can sit back and just be a proud person. So that's
Yeah, yeah.
really my end goal is to eventually be able to help
Live,
other creators along
live,
their journey.
live something in the world, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, no. That's a dream. I wish, man, because you know it's funny, but things starts very small. But I think like people like you, Mia, and others, obviously on the podcast, simple thing can really change a generation to come. You know, so it's beautiful to see, and I'm happy you've been part of this episode as well, man. And
Perfect.
hopefully we're gonna do more things in the future. Definitely, we're gonna jump on a collaboration. And
100%.
for everyone home and following us, please have a look at Shaq Works. I will leave his Instagram handles, his website. So please visit him. And if you want to work with him, please just reach out. Yeah. Thank you very
Thank you
much, and
very
see you on the
much.
next one.
I appreciate you. Have a great day.